One of the most important things to remember when you're putting together frames using pocket screws, the pocket screw is going to pull the joint together at whatever angle your pieces have been cut. So it's always important to make sure that your saw is cutting really square before you get started. The simplest way that I know to do that is find a board that's fairly wide, and I'm going to make a cut in the middle, and then I will flip the pieces over. If the saw is not cutting square, if it's say a 64th off, when I flip it over, it's going to double that margin of error, so I'll be able to see it. So I'm going to go ahead and cut that piece, flip it over, and hopefully we're going to be cutting real well. Okay, I can't even see any gap in between there, so this saw is cutting really well. So, we're in good shape on that. Now, the next thing that we need to do is get a stop system set up so that we can cut the same exact length pieces, or extremely close to the exact same length pieces. What that means is all the openings are going to be the same size, so all these pieces of molding are going to be the same size. Again, it's just paying attention to small details are going to make all the other steps that follow a lot easier. The length of this rail needs to be 6 inches. Now, all the fence systems I've used before all have one issue that you have to deal with, and that is you can't really set the system up to cut anything less than about 12 to 13 inches. The way that I get around that is I cut a block that's 10 inches long, so in order to get a 6-inch finished piece, I'm going to set my guide system over here on 16 inches and lock it in. And so with my 10-inch piece against it, when I bring the board over against the 10-inch piece, I'm going to always end up with a 6-inch finished piece. Now, one of the things that's always important to remember anytime you're using a miter saw, no matter what kind of cut you're making, is don't let sawdust build up on the bed of the saw. And here it's going to be especially important not to let sawdust build up here, because if I start getting a pile of sawdust up in here, I'm going to end up with a board that's too short. Another thing that's very, very important when you're making this type of cut, you want to keep the saw in the down position until the blade stops moving. If you start raising it up with the blade moving, you may start launching pieces, and the worst case scenario, you could end up with a piece wedged in the saw that would damage the saw or the blade. Now, of course, we're building the frame, a middle post that's got 4 pieces, so I've just got this step 4 times. And if I've done this right when we get through, all the pieces should be exactly the same length. And that's pretty close. Now that we've got those pieces cut to the same length, we're going to go over and put the pocket holes in the back of them.